Hey everybody, I'm Tim Hockett. This week another racially motivated shooting occurred in our great country, and it reminds me that we still have a lot of work to do. In Jacksonville, Florida, a shooter killed three black people who were just shopping at a dollar store. The shooter was wearing Nazi stuff and was shouting racial slurs as he murdered innocent people just because of the color of their skin. Earlier in the day, he had actually visited a predominantly black school, but mysteriously left when someone challenged him. So today I want to talk about prejudice. The word means that you draw a judgment pre. That is, you decide without really knowing. Its most telling indicators are name calling and making sweeping generalizations about other people without any logical support. Well, generalizations can be harmful and very mean spirited. All rich people are cheaters. All poor people are lazy. Jews are greedy. Arabs are terrorists. Police are bullies. Democrats are socialists. Republicans are fascists. Mexicans are this. Gay people are that. Homeless people are. People who don't speak English are, protesters are just professional looters. We find targets of prejudice everywhere. You could add a long list of cultures, races, religions, countries, philosophies, even individual choices about sex. When prejudice involves generalizations about color, it's racism. Sadly, American history continues to be tainted by racism. Early American colonists justified the ownership of other people by telling themselves that people of color were not even people. They were subhuman. When the American Constitution was written, part of the formula for allocating representation in Congress was to allow the southern states to count a black person as three-fifths of a person. Most of us know the history of American slavery. We know about public lynchings and Jim Crow laws that actually allowed unequal treatment of black folks under the law, despite the dictum over the entrance of the Supreme Court, equal justice under law. When the hatred of others reached its peak, we fought a civil war. Sadly, we lost more Americans in the Civil War than all of the wars since combined. Yeah, Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. We lost more in the Civil War. That's what hate can do. We now know that the enslavement of people was actually motivated by greed and power and had no moral justification whatsoever. Over time, we know that slavery was abolished. Over time, the Constitution was amended. Civil rights legislation was enacted, ostensibly protecting the rights of people of color to pursue happiness and enjoy the same freedom as white people and providing genuine hope of equal justice under law. But 100 years after the Civil War, schools still had to be forcibly integrated. Some people in America think that now we have arrived, that inequality and racism is a thing of the past. They're upset over protests calling for justice. They're upset over losing some of their favorite stereotypes like Aunt Jemima. But at the same time, racists rear their heads and boldly march in the name of Christian nationalism or white supremacy. And then, like this week, evil individuals emerge and murder innocent people because of the color of their skin. It still happens on a regular basis. So what do we do? First, I urge you, study a little bit of history. Learn from our mistakes. Ignoring or denying our history is a sure way to repeat the mistakes of our past. Second, learn to openly condemn prejudice and bigotry. Say something. Lives are still at stake. Third, get to know people who are different from you. It'll pleasantly surprise you. You know, when I lived in Jerusalem, I was a minority. I was surrounded by Jews and Arabs and a plethora of pilgrims coming to visit. Interestingly, among all these groups, I found people who loved their families, loved their kids, wanted peace, and a chance at prosperity. I found so many people of excellent character. I also discovered that nearly every one of them had experienced some horrible treatment as a result of prejudice. I lived in a small village in Ecuador for a few years. We could go all day and not see another American. We were surrounded by people who were very different. Women that averaged 4'9" and men 5'2", very short people. They had dark skin, beautiful long black hair. They dressed differently. They spoke differently. Again, among these people, I found folks with hopes and dreams and love for their families who laughed and cried just like me. We made so many good friends. My point is that the more diverse one's experience, usually the more accepting of those differences which were once subject to prejudice. I say usually because some prejudices can become so ingrained and so universally embraced that they withstand nearly all efforts to subdue. It'll take hard work to completely eliminate prejudice in our country. Until then, we'll continue to hurt ourselves. We have to do better. Think about it. Thanks for watching. I'm Tim Hawken.